Yo guys, what is going on? Got a Dorugoramon X-Antibody deck profile for you guys. So this is a very fun deck for the BT7 format I've been testing out a lot. It is a very aggressive black deck, which is a nice change, especially because a decent amount of them have been more just like defensive, kind of like blocker based, but this one is realistically just like another Jesmon. Basically, it's just a one-stack deck with like a decent amount of board control, lots of cool X-Antibody interactions and effects like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it for the Digi-Eggs. Just playing 4 of them, playing 4 copies of Dorugoramon. So this guy has the effect where once per turn, when one of your effects place a Digivolution card under this Digimon, you get draw 1 card. So that's kind of the whole gimmick with this deck, is that they basically revolve around placing X-Antibody cards underneath a stack, getting up a big stack, going into your Dorugoramon, which is your boss monster, and then just blowing through your whole your opponent's whole security all in one go. So Dorugoramon, I definitely think, is essential. If you want to play a 5th egg, I'd probably play like a Pagumon or something, just for like more consistency. But I don't think your games are going to be too grindy with this deck. So for the level 3s here, we got 4 copies of Dorugoramon. So this is the searcher for the X-Antibodies. He has the effect where on play, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with X-Antibody, as well as 1 Kota Dolmoto amongst those to your hand. So Kota is the tamer who also searches X-Antibodies, by the way, so a very consistent deck, I think, and then you also get to search any X-Antibody, including himself. That's basically the whole Dorugoramon evolution line, as well as Alphamon, so a really nice stuff there. He's also got the inherited effect where when you place something underneath him, you get to gain 1 memory. So not only are you drawing a card off of the Digi-Egg, but then you're also gaining a memory off of his effects. A really nice synergy there. Then we got 4 copies of Chikurimon. So Chikurimon is a really good security Digimon. Realistically, you could swap this out with like a lot of other level 3 black Digimon. I think the only, like, this is the only non-essential Digimon, I think, in this deck, at least as far as level 3s go. So I just wanted something that was like something else that was good in security, and I think this guy is pretty decent, being able to just get rid of any, like, one of your opponent's problematic Digimon, stuff like you know, Seraphimon, Millenniumon's War Defeat, stuff with on deletion effects, stuff you can't really beat over maybe, but Chikurimon, like I said, you could swap this out. What I don't think is necessarily swappable is, unfortunately, the Tsunorizamon. So playing 3 copies of this, I was playing 4 initially, but I don't think you'd necessarily need that many, because a lot of times you want Dorugoramon underneath your stack as well. So you've got 7 cards that are like good to have underneath your stack, which I think is enough. He's also got the on play, or not on play, the like during your turn, all of your black Digimon with 13,000 or more gain piercing. So that comes up a little bit, but the main reason why I play him is just because if he's black and this Digimon's 13,000 or more DP, you get security attack +1. So you've got Alphamon as well as Dorugoramon, who have inherent effects that will like boost their DP. So you can get up to security attack +1 pretty easily with the Tsunorizamon effect. And then, of course, being able to have piercing potentially is nice as well. And then lastly, playing 3 copies of Chumon for the memory blockers, because this guy is very essential. This format, especially against Gazimons, especially against just any deck like Lilith Loop or Yellow Hybrid, that just abuse the fact that they don't necessarily need memory tamers to function. Now, I will say, if you don't own Tsunorizamons, I'd probably recommend swapping these out for like a 4th Chumon, and then maybe like a Toy Agumon or something, just to get like that reboot effect, which I do still think is a really powerful and inherited, but I don't think it's like super essential for your strategy, because most things in this format, I think this is a very champion ultimate heavy format, so your opponent's usually not going to be swinging over like your Dorugoramon. But yeah, so I'd probably recommend just playing more memory chokers and stuff like that. So then for the champions, we're playing 4 copies of Dorugoramon. So lots of Dorus here. This is the champion form of Dorugoramon. So he's got the opponent's turn effect. If this Digimon or if this Digimon in its trace has X-Antibody, or there's another Digimon with X-Antibody, it gains blocker during your opponent's turn. So you can basically get away with not like playing any blockers. Spoiler, I am actually playing other just like inherent blockers, because I don't think 5,000 is a big enough threshold for me to be comfortable with, especially because as opposed to like the hybrid decks, this is like a traditional evolution line deck. So I think you have have to play a little bit like more, like you just need more counters to like their stuff because your deck is like kind of slower. So then he also has the alternate effects in his inherited, that this Digimon gains plus 1000 if it's got X-Antibody. So again, you can get Dorugoramon to like really big, like Jesmon levels of like big DP. So that's really cool. He's got those effects, and then I'm playing. This is like more of a very like tech choice. I'm playing 3 copies of BT2 Guardramon. Okay, so this guy is a 7000 blocker. He's actually, I believe, the biggest level 4 blocker in the game. Now he can't actually attack, but most of the time, if you just put out a champion, you're not like trying to attack with them too much. At least these guys, there are actually, I say that, but there's actually a couple champions I'm playing that you would want to swing with. But at least early on, if your dude is just like sitting there on the field, you might as well just have something that stops your opponent's hybrids from swinging. So 7000 is big enough to get over both the human spirits and the beast spirits. So it gets over like Burning Greymon, Zephyrmon, like Korikakumon, all those guys are 6000. Now it doesn't get over the level 5s, but it can trade with them, which is like at least you have that option. But I think 7000 is quite a big threshold. But even if you don't need this, even if you want a blocker that can attack, you still got your 4 copies of Dorugoramon. So that is the spicy tech there. And then another kind of techy card is 2 copies of Blimpmon. So a lot of you guys might not have even seen this card before. This is just a vanilla level 4 that is a 7000 beater. Okay, so again, 7000 is a very big threshold. So against most other hybrid decks, if they've swung with like a Metal Kabuterimon or like a Zephyrmon or something, you can go into this and like attack over their hybrid Digimon. 7000 is really big. And then I think being able to crash into like a Beowulf or a, you know, like a Jet Sylphie or something is pretty relevant as well. And then for the last couple of champions in the deck, because we can play hybrids finally, so you got 2 copies of Grumblemon just to, you know, finish out games over your black tamer there. So that is it for the level 4s. And then for the level 5s, playing 4 copies of Dorugoramon. So this guy is so good for so many reasons. So first of all, he has the 1 Digivolving effect, where you can place a black card with X-Antibody and it's traced from your hand to the bottom of his stack, and then he can't be deleted and his DP can't be reduced until the end of the next turn. So this is really crazy in the yellow matchup because they basically have no way of dealing with this. So it just helps you push out of your breeding area a little bit earlier. And then he's also got the when attacking or your turn while this Digimon is X-Antibody and traced, it gets security attack +1. And again, this can stack. So like if you've got like a Dorugoramon on top of one and then you like put another one underneath by its effect, you get already check like 3 cards right there. So a lot of times you're going through your opponent's whole stack in one swing. And then we've got just 3 copies of Warumonzaimon as your secondary level 5, just to have a cheap alternative. If you break, you can play this from your hand, or just as a 2 to evolve ultimate is really nice as well. So that is it for the level 5s. And then for the level 6s, of course, 4 copies of the main boss monster himself, Dorugoramon. So this guy's got a couple of effects. First of all, your turn for each X-Antibody and his Digivolution source, he gets plus 1000. So pretty easy to get him quite big. And then when attacking once per turn, you can place an X-Antibody underneath him to delete 2 of your opponent's Digimon whose play costs are less than or equal to the number of Digimon cards underneath him. So if you have just a regular stack of a Digi-Egg, a Rookie, Champion, Ultimate, that's already a 4, and then you swing, put something underneath them, that's deleting 2 5 costs or lower. And then if he sticks around a turn or 2, that can just skyrocket into like 2 6 or 2 7 costs or lower, clearing out basically most level 4s and 5s on your opponent's side of the field. So it's a really good board control card, especially in a format full of just champions and ultimates. And then again, like I said, just being able to put whatever you want underneath him, and then whether it's a security attack boost or the DP boost or whatever, is really nice as well. And then for the secondary Mega, playing 3 copies of Alphamon, of course, because this is an X-Antibody deck, so it wouldn't be complete without the Alphamon as well. So he's got the security tech where if you've got, well, you can add it to your hand, and then if you've got an X-Antibody or Royal 9 in the field, which X-Antibodies are pretty easy to get on the field, your opponent's Digimon basically can't attack players for the turn. It says up to 12, but that's pretty much your opponent's whole field, like excluding Tamers, right? But then you can also, when attacking, pay up to 5 memory, boosts his DP for 1,000 for each. So like I said, you can trigger Tsunorizamon pretty easily, and then just being able to play around like whatever your opponent's boss monsters might be in security. Maybe if it's like a ancient Beetlemon or like a Suzanomon or whatever, you can boost them up pretty high. And then at end of attack, you get to gain 2 memory. So even if you want to be a little bit greedy and just swing for 11,000, you get 2 additional memory at the end of the battle, which is really crazy, especially in tandem with Omnimon's War Defeat, who I'm playing 3 copies of. So one of my favorite things to do is if you're at 3 memory, you can like Digivolve into an Alphamon, attack, and then gain 2 at the end, go back to 2, and then Digivolve into his War Defeat, put your opponent to 1, and then delete like their memory tamer, for example. But in this format where tamers are very, very prominent, I think Omnimon's War Defeat is one of the strongest cards you can play against. It's really one of the only cards that interacts with tamers. Of course, we got Lucemon now as well. But then in security, this guy's crazy as well. Just getting a 13,000 beater on field, and then anytime he like gets destroyed by your opponent's card or by battle or whatever, he gets to delete anything on the field. So that is really, really powerful. And then for the tamers and option cards, playing 3 copies of your Kota Domoto. This is your memory tamer simultaneously, as well as another consistency card, because he has the on-play effect of reveal top 4 and then add any X-Antibody. So there's lots of tamers, or lots of Digimon with X-Antibody, of course, but lots of ways to get this tamer through Dorugoramon, and then you can also then search more X-Antibodies with him. So it's really, really nice. And then of course being able to just have this guy on field and then finish your opponent off with like a Grumblemon or something is really crazy as well. Now originally I was playing 4 copies of this, but I decided to take one out for 1 copy of Metal Cannon. So this card says choose one of your opponent's Digimon, or sorry, choose one of your Digimon with X-Antibody and its traits, then draw 1 card for each of its Digivolution cards. So even in a scenario where you like just have like a Dorumon and then with like an egg, like let's say you like move this out like turn 2 or something, this turns into like a draw 2 card. And then if you've got a Dorugoramon with like 6 cards on underneath it, you're drawing for like X amount of cards. So this card can be a really, really, really crazy draw card. So I decided to test this out over the 4th Kota, and I am liking it a lot, especially because it's only a 2 cost, and you can go potentially like plus 3, 4 from it. So it's really nice. And then lastly, for the other option cards, playing 2 Iron Fisted Onslaught just to clear boards, and then 2 copies of Brave Metal. So this card, I was originally playing Gewalt Schwarmer, which is, you know, deletes all 7 costs or lower, so pretty much every ultimate or lower on your opponent's side of the field, but I didn't like it quite as much just because it doesn't have a security effect. So I've been testing out Brave Metal, and I am enjoying it in the deck. So it has the main effect of delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 6 or less, and then if you have basically if you have an X-Antibody with 5 or more on field, 5 or more Digivolution cards, so a Dorugoramon with a full stack essentially, and so if you have that on field, you can just delete any Digimon instead, as long as it's not an X-Antibody, which no other, unless you're playing a mirror match, no other deck would have that. So it turns into a Gaia Force, 5 cost Gaia Force if you have like a Dorugoramon stack on field, but I really just wanted like a mid-range like or a mid-cost like option card that activates in security, so this fulfills that condition for me. But that is going to do it for the deck. So guys, that is going to do it for this deck profile. Hopefully you enjoyed. This was more of a fun deck that I've been messing around with the last couple of days, and I do think it is quite fun. It's also relatively inexpensive aside from the Zwart defeats and the Tsunorizamon, so I definitely think you could build a budget version. Like I said, if you wanted to cut out the Tsunorizamons, I would probably just replace them with like Toy Agumons and more Memory Chokers, more Chumons, and then if you wanted to cut out the defeats, I'd probably just swap in like a regular Omnimon Zwart, or even like a Suzanomon if you wanted to just like have something that just pops something that you can evolve over a black card. Heck, even Chaosmon might do pretty decently as just like a secondary like swing, because you can like go into Dorugoramon, attack, blow some stuff up, check a bunch of cards, and then go into like Chaosmon, attack over something else. So that might be a decent budget option as well. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.